crazy how when we're toddlers, we literally cannot wait to be adults. We cannot wait to explore and just be adults and everything. And then we get to our adolescent years where we start to see things in a different light and we're exposed to so many different people, opinions, and we're literally exposed to the world in a sense. And now we long to go back to the times where we were toddlers, simpler times, simpler days when everything was just much better and you were genuinely happy. And it's sort of like a thing of like you're an adult or you already are an adult. And it's so crazy because it's always been like that. And I don't think I've ever met a single person who would like at this age be excited about entering adulthood, because it's very scary. It's the time where you are exposed to the adult world, because I feel like still as a teenager you're exposed to the world to a certain extent and you start to see certain things for the way that they are, but you're not truly on your own, at least for some. And I just really wanted to get into it. I just don't feel like people really talk about it. I don't really think people talk about it, and I just really wanted to talk about growing up. So if you guys are interested in hearing me just yapping away today, then stay tuned. The first thing that I really want to touch on is exactly what I was saying in the intro about like romanticizing your adulthood in the first place. I don't know, I feel like literally since we were children, like since we were kids, it's always like been this thing of like we cannot wait to grow older, because it's like maybe the things that we see on TV, and it's just like the media presents everything else as this sparkly, the media presents everything as perfection, and you think that that's how your reality and that's how your adulthood is going to be, but that's not the case. And I feel like especially as young women, like young girls and everything, it's a thing of like us being exposed literally through Disney movies, like since babies, like that, oh, you have to wait for your Prince Charming and like everything is going to fall into place, when that's not the case. And that's another thing that I will touch on a bit later. Like, there's nothing wrong with romanticizing life. That's what makes your life more enjoyable, because 99%, like 99% of your life is like literally boring, and we're not really doing anything with our lives except existing and living and doing the best that we can. And then there's that 1% of like your birthdays, graduation days, and wedding days, and all of these things that just make your life a bit like extraordinary. And honestly, whoever made it to be this thing of like romanticizing it and making it seem like it was the best thing on earth, like I don't even know, because the disappointment that it comes with, that like what you see in the media, what you see on TV, it's like literally it's not what it seems. And honestly, I also feel like it just takes away from your present, because from young you're literally just fantasizing about your future and you're never literally truly living in the present, because I cannot wait to be a doctor, I cannot wait to be an astronaut. Like, that's, as a kid, that's the things that you're saying. Your focus is on the future, and like you realize like in your adolescent years that you just wish that you cherished those times more, because as a kid you were literally just too focused on being an adult. Now all you want to do as a teenager and as an adult is go back to those times when like there were no worries and no nothing. Before I forget, the relationships thing, the knight in shining armor, Prince Charming, and everything, I also feel like for young girls especially, that's also another thing that could cause massive disappointment, because I just feel like, why is it that you need a relationship? First of all, it's like a thing of like, well, it's the media in it within itself idealizing romantic relationships, and it's the disappointment that comes with it, where at the end of the movie they never show you what happens after the couple gets together. You know, they never show you what happens after it, and it's like a fairy tale, like, oh, and they ended up together and they ended up living happily ever after. Is that our reality? No. And yes, I understand that it's fiction. I understand that, but it's like literally in every single Disney movie, every single thing, it's like you will find your man and you will be happy. And I feel like, in a sense, that's how I feel like that's one of the contributing reasons as to why young girls just feel this need to be in relationships all the time, because they think that being in a relationship is going to fix all of their problems. Just like those people who think that, okay, they have problems within their relationship already, and then they want to solve it by getting married. What's that gonna solve? That's gonna make things harder, because the thing is, with a marriage, you can't just break up and be like deuces. No, you have to get up and be like, okay, I have to fix this. You're my husband, you're my wife. Now it's no longer the thing of like, I just want to break up with you. And it's no longer just, it's not child's play. And I think a lot of people treat it that way. And yeah, that's another thing that I basically wanted to touch on. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is the pressure of having it all figured out at 18. I mean, who decided that? Who decided, okay, so the baby, you're gonna be 1 year old, you're gonna go to school at a certain time, and then by 18, you should know exactly what to do with your life? Who decided that? Like, personally, I would like to speak to that person and ask them why. Because at that point, you're literally, at that point, a lot of people don't even know who they are. A lot of people just came out of high school, a place that is for the pits, in a sense, because I feel like that's another thing that's very much romanticized. I feel like in the movies, High School Musical, like the way that they just show high school to be this other place. I mean, yes, they show the bad sides, but I also feel like it's something that is very much romanticized. And it's also, it's just the disappointment that comes with it, because it's like what you expected versus your reality, and it's not the same. I don't know. I don't know what this thing of like, oh, you have to have a job at a certain age, or you have to be doing this at a certain age. If you're not doing this at a certain age, then your life is gonna crumble. Da 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 da. All of these outside noise, and it's like, can I breathe? Can I breathe? But you know, another thing about this is like you actually cannot. You can't breathe. There are a lot of people who cannot afford to just stop. They cannot afford to just take a break for a year and just be like deuces. There's certain people who just can't. Certain people who are not in the right financial or just situation in general. It's just like a thing of like also like realizing that life doesn't wait for you. Like that saying of life goes on, it's not a lie. It goes on. It doesn't care if you have to like literally cry your heart out and you're mourning and whatnot. You have to get up and you have to do what you gotta do. And I also feel like that's also just the harsh reality, and that's what people don't tell you. I feel like with women and men, it's like it has an effect. It has some sort of effect, because with the man, you can tell someone who hasn't built up the emotional intelligence, who doesn't have that resilience and everything, because they haven't there hasn't been room for emotional expression, right? And you can just tell that by the way that person responds within certain situations and the way that they are in relationships. You can just tell, and that could literally affect their relationships and like everything else in their lives. And then on top of that, with women who have, been taught that, okay, you can express yourself, it's not weak, it's actually a strength, and all of these things. It's like, because women have been taught that being emotional and being vulnerable, it is perfectly okay and everything. It's also like a thing of women being sort of like given that time to mourn, but at the same time haven't been prepared for when life does go on, when life does just continue. I feel like with men, they already have that, because they already know, they've been told that since young. They're like, okay, you fell, get up. Like they will literally tell a young boy from literally the second that you fall, get up, get up. There's no time to do nothing, there's no time to do nothing. And vice versa with like the emotions that a man feels. It's harder for them. It's harder, it sometimes for certain women, it could be harder for them to tap into that mindset, right? Because they haven't grown up in that way. And it's also harder for men to just tap into that mindset of being emotionally expressive and all of these things. And yeah, I just feel like that's another thing. Also, conformity. peer pressure, social media, all of that in one. All of that, I don't think people realize how much it affects them. Now, I'm one person who can proudly say that I have been in situations where I could have given into peer pressure any time that I wanted to, because I was surrounded, even with people who were not my friends, I was surrounded by people who did things that I could have done if I chose to do so. Because the thing is, when you're surrounded by those type of people, you kind of want to be a part of it because you don't want to be left out. Like, that's the first initial thing. But I don't know what it is. I'm just firm with myself. I'm just firm with my beliefs. If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to be forced into doing it, because why? You know, I just never really understood it. So with the whole peer pressure thing, I don't think people see how much it takes away from them. Like, yes, you're conforming and you're people pleasing at this point in order to be cool or to just try new things because you want to be liked and you want to fit in a certain friendship, like whatever. Like, we got it, right? But it takes away from you, because now you don't have that sense of individuality. You can't even stay firm in your own authentic self and be independent and like be okay with the fact that other people are not going to accept you even if you do this or whatever. Social media, right, and conformity and peer pressure and all of these things, they shape us into different individuals, because we were a certain person before we were exposed to social media, right? We had certain beliefs that may have been like tainted by social media or by peer pressure. The people that you surround yourself by, they are peer pressuring you into doing things that before maybe you were a person, let's say maybe you were a person who used to do something, you used to be like an addict, right? It doesn't have to be like drug addict, but like you used to do something quite a lot, you stopped, and now you find yourself in a situation like that once again. First of all, you're being tested by the universe, you're being tested by God to see if you're going to go back, and then and then and then you go ahead and do it. You fall into that trap, and it's like, when are you ever going to learn? Because you're gonna get to a certain point in your life where you don't even know who you are, because you've been doing things to conform, just for the sake of conformity, just for the sake of being liked and being relatable and being seen. It's not worth it. And also, another thing about growing up is like this whole identity thing. I believe this generation is literally called the lost generation, right? And I believe so. There are so many people out there who don't know who they are, and if they were to be given a chance to spend time with themselves, they wouldn't even want that, because they're so used to the company of other people, they're so used to being surrounded by others, hearing other people's opinions, that they don't even have an opinion of their own. They don't even know how to act if there's no people around them and everything, and they just constantly need to attach themselves to someone. They need someone to accompany them because they can't do it on their own. They just need to lean on somebody else, and where is that? All of that codependency literally won't get you anywhere, because you have to realize that the only person at the end of the day you're going to have is yourself, you know? And literally, since we were young, we were taught like how to do what to do, how to act, how to dress in a certain way, how to act if you want to get a man, how to be this type of person for that type of person, how to be this type of person if you want to attract this person. And it's just like, are you ever truly living in your authentic self? Because you wonder why you're not happy with yourself, you wonder why you don't know yourself, you're wondering why you don't have a sense of identity, and it's because you spent your life listening to other people. In the world that we live in, like, I don't understand who wouldn't want, authenticity. Yeah, it's so rare, it's literally so rare, and it shouldn't be, because I literally live in a world where everybody just wants to be the same and do the same things and just look alike, literally, in terms of like what you should do, in terms of how you should act, in terms of what to do in order to get a man to like you. Like, we're literally consuming these types of content in order to be liked by others. How crazy is that? And I don't think people have deeped that. I don't think people understand that. Is the question goes back to, do you even love yourself? Do you even appreciate yourself? No, because how are you gonna love someone that you don't even know? You know? If like your thoughts are like constantly, what do other people think of me? What if they like us? What if they don't like us? You're so like wrapped in those thoughts, and it's just like, do you ever go back to yourself? Who are you in the dark? In the words of Camila Cabello, when everybody is not watching, who are you? Are you even able to embrace the individual that you are? No, because you can't even identify as that person. You can't even act like that person because you don't have a sense of identity. But you want to be able to choose a career path, but you want to be able to figure out what you're passionate about, but you're not even authentic within yourself. Make it make sense. Another thing that other people don't just talk about in terms of like growing up is your friends. Not in terms of like, oh, the people that you surround yourself by are the people that you are and they're able to influence you. Yes, obviously. But in terms of picking the correct friends and just knowing that not everybody's your friend at all. Friendships are difficult, especially female friendships. Like, I will always stress that female friendships are not the easiest. But neither is being friends with a male. But sometimes I do appreciate the straightforwardness and the bluntness that comes with being friends with a man. Because I've been in situations where I have been friends with people who are not straightforward with me. And it's either like they whisper it to somebody else and they vent that to somebody else and everything, and they cannot express that issue with me because of whatever reason, because they don't like conflict, because they just want to avoid X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, I'm a civilized being. I'm just a girl. Like, just choose people that are not gonna sugarcoat it and are just gonna tell you the way that it is. I mean, you know what? Some people like the sugarcoated truth, just not me. Stay safe, you guys. Stay safe, y'all. The last thing that I want to touch on in terms of like growing up and everything is how people don't really talk about change and like the obstacles like that you're gonna have to endure, especially as children. You don't ever think of like the day that your parents are gonna die or whatever, because you have a belief that they're gonna stay there. Like, they were there when you were born, so you don't have a thought in your head of like they're ever gonna leave. And I think that it's not a thing of like, not me saying that you should prepare yourself for it, but just don't ever be comfortable and just don't take things for granted, because it's when you take it for granted and that's when it's taken away from you and you don't know what to do with yourself anymore, and you are going to be filled with regrets no matter what. And I just feel like being able to embrace that uncertainty, being able to embrace change, it's gonna save you, because you're not gonna know what life is gonna throw at you, but you know that it has its obstacles, but you don't know if you're gonna be able to withstand that. But if you're still here today, then you are going to be able to withstand it, because you wouldn't be here today if you weren't strong enough. And yeah, with that, you guys have come to the end of the episode. I really enjoyed it. Honestly, I was just rambling. I was just yapping. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know other ideas that you guys would like me to talk about on this series. Last time I spoke about the real truth about being a teenager, just so go and check that out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Smile. Yeah.
Big period.